Welcome to What Dwells Beneath, the podcast where we plunge into the shadows, chasing stories that make your skin crawl and your heart race. I'm your lantern bearer, Percival, guiding you through the dark tonight with tales that cling like rain on London streets. Joined by my producer, Neku, and our research assistants, Hannah and Eleanor, who've been digging through declassified files and the quiet corners of Cold War history to bring this to you. I would like to give a heartfelt thank you to Cryptid for her early work on the show and lighting the way. We wish her well on her new path. Now, a quick content warning. Tonight's episode details a real political assassination involving poison, slow and agonizing death, state-sponsored violence, espionage, and betrayal. It includes descriptions of physical suffering and the lingering trauma of a family left behind. If any of this feels too heavy, triggering, or difficult, please stop listening now. There are lighter episodes in our catalog, and your well-being matters more than finishing this one. We handled the story with respect for the victim, his family, and the historical weight it carries. If you're still with us, we're stepping into London, 1978, a city of rain-slicked pavements, red double-decker buses, flickering neon signs, and an invisible Cold War battle lines drawn in poison and silence. We're unraveling the KGB Umbrella Murder, the assassination of Bulgarian dissident Georgi Markov, a man silenced forever with an umbrella. A weapon so ordinary, it becomes legendary. A hit so braven, so theatrical, so coldly efficient that it still shocks nearly 50 years later. This is one of the Cold War's most audacious political killings. It was calculated, public, and still officially unsolved. We'll walk through the day it happened, the slow agony that followed, the forensic breakthrough that revealed the impossible, the web of espionage that points straight to Eastern Bloc intelligence, the long shadow it cast across decades of similar poisonings, and the unanswered questions that keep this case alive. Because this story doesn't stand alone. It's part of a grim pattern. Exotic toxins, deniable weapons, dissidents vanishing in plain sight. Some cases were solved through defections or leaks, but others linger open-ended, waiting for their own episode. So grab your headphones, dim the lights, and walk with us to that rainy bus stop on Waterloo Bridge. This one's gonna linger. Picture this. It's Thursday, September 7th, 1978. It's a cool, drizzly afternoon in central London. The kind of day where the sky seems low and gray, which is the average day in London, pressing down on the city like a damp blanket. Georgi Markov, 49, steps out of the BBC World Service building on Bush House after his evening broadcast shift. He's tired, but alert. Always alert these days. As a Bulgarian exile and one of the sharpest voices on Radio Free Europe and the BBC's Bulgarian service, he spent years mocking the communist regime of Tudor Zivkov. His satirical sketches, essays, and commentaries cut deep, calling the leader a clown in a clown suit, exposing corruption, giving voices to those silenced back home. And just for using his voice to help others, he received death threats, anonymous phone calls in the middle of the night warning him to stop. A near miss in Sardinia the previous summer, something slipped into his drink that felt wrong. It left him violently ill for days, vomiting blood, convinced he'd been poisoned but unable to prove it. But Markov keeps speaking. He believes words are the only weapon he has left, the only way to keep truth alive for Bulgarians tuning in on hidden shortwave radios. He walks toward Waterloo Bridge to catch his usual bus home in Clapham. The pavement is wet, umbrellas blooming like black mushrooms around him. He joins the queue at the stop near the bridge south end. The river, right below, is dark and sluggish. A man behind him, middle-aged, foreign accent, later described as Eastern European, bumps into him hard. Markov feels a sharp jab in the back of his right thigh, like an insect sting or quick pinprick. He turns. The man mutters sorry in accented English, bends quickly to pick up a dropped umbrella and hurries away, towards the river. Markov rubs the spot and nothing is visible. Just a tiny red mark, no bigger than a freckle. He thinks very little of it. His bus arrives, he boards, sits, and rides home to his wife Annabelle and their young daughter. By evening, he starts to feel feverish. Chills run through him like ice water. And that's when the nausea starts to build, and it comes in waves. It gets even worse. Swollen lymph nodes throb in his groin. He tells Annabelle something's wrong. Perhaps food poisoning, perhaps a bug from the tube. The next morning, September 8th, he is so much worse. High fever spiking to 104, vomiting, searing pain radiating from the thigh. He's quickly admitted to St. James Hospital in Balham. Doctors examine the puncture wound. It's small, unremarkable, almost invisible. They first suspect it's blood poisoning or an infected bite. They immediately get him on antibiotics and start pushing fluids. But the fever climbs. On September 9th, he's delirious, his skin burning to the touch, organs beginning to fail. He tells doctors and even Annabelle in a weak, rasping voice, "I've been poisoned. There's nothing you can do." On September 11th, 4 days after the sting, Georgi Markov dies in agony. Heart failure, septic shock, multi-organ collapse. He was 49 years old. The autopsy is performed at Scotland Yard's forensic lab under intense scrutiny. Pathologists find something impossible. A tiny metallic pellet, 1.5 millimeters in diameter, smaller than a pinhead, embedded into the thigh muscle. Platinum iridium alloy, engineered with X-sharp grooves, forming a microscopic reservoir. And what they find inside is traces of ricin, one of the deadliest natural toxins known to man. Less than 0.5 milligram can kill an adult human. Ricin works by inhibiting protein synthesis. Cells stop functioning. Organs shut down slowly and painfully. Now, there was no known antidote that existed in 1978. The pellet was designed to rupture on impact, releasing the poison gradually over days. The result is a silent, agonizing death that is almost untraceable in standard medical practice. The murder weapon? An umbrella modified into a compressed air gun. A single jab, a quiet hiss of gas, and the pellet fires. The assassin walks away. No blood on the pavement, no gunshot echo, no screaming witnesses, except the victim himself, who carried the evidence inside his body. Georgi Markov was born March 1st, 1929, in Sofia, Bulgaria. He was a gifted writer, novels, plays, short stories. He rose in the 1960s literary scene under communism, even winning state prizes for his work. But he was chafed at censorship, at the regime's suffering control over art and truth. In 1969, during a medical conference in Italy, he defected. He settled in London, became a British citizen, married Annabelle, and turned his pen against the regime. His broadcasts were devastating. They were satirical, fearless, naming names, exposing corruption, mocking Todor Zivkov as a clown in a clown suit. To Zivkov's government, he was a traitor. To many Bulgarians listening in secret on shortwave radios, he was hope. But to Bulgarian secret police, or the DS, he was a problem that needed solving. The DS was Bulgaria's state security service, notorious for brutality, surveillance, and close ties to the KGB. Defectors later confirmed specialized assassination squads, or Service 7, and they targeted exiles abroad. Their methods were poisonings, stage accidents, snipers, and exotic weapons. Ricin had been tested in Soviet labs since the 1970s. It's odorless, tasteless, and nearly undetectable in small doses until an autopsy. But let's take a second and talk about the umbrella gun. It's a KGB specialty from Lab 12, or the Chamber, a secret facility in Moscow, dedicated to untraceable poisons and delivery systems. A defector, Bogdan Stashinsky, who killed 2 Ukrainian nationalists with cyanide aerosol guns in the 1950s, described similar pneumatic devices. Another, Oleg Kalugin, a former KGB general, later confirmed the umbrella was a known prototype, tested on animals, refined for humans. And Georgi wasn't the first time it was used in public. Another pellet was removed from Vladimir Kostov, another Bulgarian defector, in Paris on August 26, 1978, just 11 days earlier. Kostov felt a sting in the back while on the metro escalator. Kostov began to experience a fever, and he immediately checked himself into a hospital. There, surgeons removed the pellet before the full ricin release. He survived. Ballistics and toxin analysis linked the two pellets, the same weapon family, the same poison, the same target profile. Bulgarian exiles speaking against Zivkov. This is when Scotland Yard launched Operation Umbrella. They interviewed dozens of witnesses, and that's when they realized people in the bus queue saw the man with the umbrella. Composite sketches showed a stocky, middle-aged man in a dark coat with a foreign look. One witness recalled an Italian accent. The trail led to a Francesco Galino, or Agent Piccadilly, a Danish-Italian businessman and DS asset. He was in London that week. His files showed prior surveillance of Markov, but when British authorities requested extradition or questioning, Bulgaria stonewalled. Galino died in 2021, never charged and never questioned under oath. But this is when theories begin to swirl. The primary and strongest, the DS ordered the hit on Zivkov's birthday, September 7th, that's some sort of symbolic revenge, with direct KGB assistance supplying the ricin and umbrella gun. Declassified documents from the 1990s Mitrokin archive and the Bulgarian archives post-1989 leaks confirmed DS Wet Affairs units targeted Markov. A second theory is a rogue DS faction acting without full approval or personal vendetta from Markov Sofia's literary days. But the biggest unlikely alternative theory is actually a medical misdiagnosis. There is word spread that the autopsy was wrong and there is no trace of ricin whatsoever. Who is stating this? Who is trying to put this out in the public to this day? If you guessed Bulgaria, that's correct. The truth is, there was no medical misdiagnosis. The autopsy and ricin traces rule that out. But the case remains open, and the UK police closed active investigation in 2013, citing lack of cooperation from Bulgaria and statute of limitation issues, but files are still classified in parts. In 2023 to 2025, academic papers in the Wilson Center, focusing on the Bulgarian archives, and BBC investigations have re-examined declassified material, confirming DS culpability but no final smoking gun due to destroyed evidence after the 1989 fall of communism. Markov's murder didn't happen in a vacuum. The Cold War era was rife with poison assassinations, exotic, discreet, and often left unsolved and covered in layers of deniability. Let's look at a few similar cases from the period, each one a whisper of the same shadow that fell on Waterloo Bridge. Some are solved, some linger open-ended, and all of them remind us that the state of power has long favored silent weapons. One of the clearest parallels is the failed attempt on Vladimir Kostov, another Bulgarian defector, which we mentioned earlier in this episode, just 11 days earlier in Paris. On August 26, 1978, Kostov felt a sting in the back while riding the metro escalator. He later developed a fever, identical to Georgi's. But doctors were able to surgically remove the identical 1.7 millimeter pellet before the ricin could fully release. He survived. The pellet matched Markov's exactly. Same alloy, same X grooves, and the same toxin. Kostov's survival provided this smoking gun that linked the two hits and pointed to the same network. Yet no one was ever prosecuted for his attack either. The umbrella gun, or a variant, had been used and tested successfully. But this does leave a lingering question. How many other attempts were never detected because the victim died quietly, diagnosed with heart failure or sudden illness? So let's go back further to the 1950s, and you find Bogdan Stashinsky, a KGB assassin who defected to the West in 1961. Stashinsky confessed to killing two Ukrainian nationalist leaders in exile, Lev Rebet in Munich in 1957 and Stepan Bandera in Munich 1959. His weapon, a cyanide aerosol gun disguised as a rolled newspaper and a cigarette case. A quick spray in the face, the victim collapses, having a full heart attack, with no traces left. Stashinsky's defection and trial in West Germany exposed the KGB's Wet Affairs unit and its use of exotic poisons for deniable kills. He was sentenced but later released under a witness protection deal. The cases were solved, but only because the killer himself talked. Without that defection, both deaths would have likely been written off as natural causes. The methods, silent, untraceable, leaving no bullet or blade, mirror the umbrella's elegance. Another echo comes from the 1970s Bulgarian operations. Defectors like Ion Pakepa, Romanian general who defected in 1978, described special task squads using poisons supplied by Moscow. Pakepa claimed that KGB shared rich technology and delivery systems with allies like Bulgaria and Romania. While not all targets were hit with umbrellas, the pattern was the same. Dissidents abroad, exotic toxins, and no fingerprints. Pakepa himself survived multiple attempts after his defection. He survived an attempt on his life with an assassination of a car bomb in 1981 and alleged poisoning plots. His survival and his books help expose the network, but many other targets weren't as fortunate. Pakepa's accounts raise chilling questions. How many more heart attacks in exile were actually ricin or other agents? In 1954, Nikola Kolkov defected to the West after refusing to assassinate anti-Soviet Georgi Markovich. Kolkov described a cigarette case gun that fired poison-tipped bullets. He was even targeted later, poisoned with thallium in 1957, but survived after Western treatment. These cases show the KGB's long obsession with untraceable, theatrical poisons, devices that kill quietly and then leave investigators grasping. Kolkov lived long enough to testify, but many others did not. The open-ended nature of some deaths, initially ruled natural or accidental, mirrors Markov's case: a public attack, a delayed death, no immediate evidence. Even earlier, in the 1940s and early 1950s, the KGB and its predecessors used poison bullets and gas guns on Ukrainian and Baltic nationalists in exile. Cases like the 1950 killing of Verbet, which was initially ruled as a heart attack, and Bandera, initially a suicide, were only solved decades later through Soshinsky's confessions. These open-ended mysteries, deaths written off as natural or self-inflicted, mirror Markov's case, and they just remind us that the umbrella wasn't unique. It was part of a larger arsenal of silent death. And the pattern didn't end with Markov. In 2006, Alexander Litvinenko, a former FSB officer and Kremlin critic, died in London after drinking tea laced with polonium-210, a radioactive poison so rare it screamed state involvement. The trail led to Russian agents Andrei Logovy and Dmitry Kovtun. The UK inquiry concluded Putin probably approved the hit. In 2018, Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia were poisoned in Salisbury with Novichok, a Soviet nerve agent. Both survived, but the attack left British civilian Don Sturgis dead from exposure. Again, Russian agents were identified, but Moscow denied everything. These modern cases feel like direct descendants of Markov's. Exotic toxins, deniability, public spectral, and lingering questions about full accountability. Each of these cost off survival. Soshinsky's cyanide gun, Kolkov's cigarette case, they all leave threads dangling. Some solved through defectors, forensics, and international pressure. Others still open into mysteries with destroyed files, stonewalling governments, and families left without closure. The KGB Umbrella Murder is a shadow we can't outrun. As dissident silenced forever with a flick of a wrist, a quiet sting, and a poison that kills slowly. Before we leave this rain-soaked bridge, a word from our Patreon dwellers. Your support keeps the lantern burning, funding deep dives like this. Join our lowest tier, the supported tier, for only $2.50 a month for a personalized shout-out and our thanks. Or become a $5 a month dweller for exclusive chills. The articles, which are bite-sized pods on fresh cases, will also provide behind-the-scenes monthly downloads, Q&As, and a welcome shout-out. Visit patreon.com/whatdwellsbeneath to join the hunt. Now, back to the show. Georgi Markov's death wasn't just a murder. It was theater, a Cold War performance of power. We can reach you anywhere, anytime, with anything. With no blood on the pavement, no gunshots in the night. Just a man rubbing his leg, boarding a bus, and dying 4 days later in a hospital bed. What dwells beneath the ordinary, beneath the polite sorry, beneath an umbrella on a rainy day? A hidden blade. A state that kills without fingerprints. A reminder that silence can be bought with fear. And sometimes, a single prick. This cuts deeper than a sting because it's about a deliberate choice. Power choosing to erase a voice. Markov didn't die in secret. He died in public, surrounded by people who never knew they witnessed history. What's it to you? Spy thriller, state tourism, unsolved crime? Next time you feel a bump in a crowd, a prick you dismiss, pause. Maybe it's nothing. Or maybe it's the last ordinary moment you'll ever have. Thanks for walking the wet streets with us, listeners. Huge props to Neku, Hannah, and Eleanor for making this as chilling as London fog. Have a listener encounter you'd like to share? Email whatdwellsbeneath@gmail.com or join the Tavern Dwellers on Discord, currently over 3,000 members. In the Discord, you can find a form where you could submit your listener encounter. We cover a range of topics here on What Dwells Beneath, including true crime, paranormal, and the bizarre. Rate us on Spotify and Apple. It fuels the hunt, and 5 stars if you can. Also, be sure to follow the podcast on Spotify and leave a comment. If you want more from me, Percival, be sure to check out my gaming YouTube channel in the link tree. But we'll be back next week with another tale. Until then, stay curious and keep one eye on the crowd.